Well, good morning, everyone. Here we are with another edition of the Three Consulting Amigos. One of the things that we have talked about in general, but today we're going to talk more specifically about the importance of small business getting outside input. And, many times they tend to run things in a way that is effective for them, and they tend to be independent, but they may not be getting the outside help they need. And with that, what we as the Three Amigos have done, we bring in marketing expertise, operational expertise, and just general framework expertise, which are all helpful in making an organization more effective and then more profitable. So with that, I'd like to move ahead. I'll be talking a little bit about how you can optimize your business using the Baldrige framework to help identify where the areas of gaps are and where there are strengths. So with that, I'm going to move ahead. So thank you, Ron or Ed. Do you have any things to add before I get started?
Looking forward to your presentation.
Yeah, me too, Ray.
So anyway, our approach is different and adds business value, again, because we have such different perspectives, which are outside of the business typically, and help them make better decisions. Secondly, between the three of us, we have over 100 years of business, which is, we do have a bit of gray hair, as they say, but in addition to that, we also have an enormous amount of experience. And we are committed. One of the things that Ron's done, he's put together how to help future leaders with microgiants. So not only do you get access to us, but there's all sorts of other videos and excellent tools that you can look at that will help you further grow your business. And finally, we're advocates for the Malcolm Baldrige framework, which we think is, kind of the example that works well, not only here, but it's used worldwide because it effectively covers the entire business. Now, one of the things I wanted to focus on a little bit is a little bit of what we do. We focus on the future earnings of a company, not the past provided by your CPA. We want to focus on how to grow your business. We value the business as is, and then provide future strategic initiatives that'll help move it one step further. Business optimization is an ongoing process for us. It's something that you can't do once, you have to do over and over again. We articulate recommendations from three different perspectives. I have some general management. Ron has 40 years of marketing, and Ed has not only finance, but operational stuff. So, we really bring a broad perspective. And if you'd like more information, we're going to encourage you to kind of sign up for our podcasts that are available online. And we have a link to that at the end that you can see.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Yes, thank you, Ron. Anything you guys want to add before I move forward?
Nope, you did a good job.
Yeah, this is perfect. And my only question is why businesses are reluctant to bring in outside help. And maybe in the past they tried it and it didn't work. But from my perspective, we've been able to really add significant value to the bottom line and the valuation of every company that we worked on. And what's great about it is that there's really no expense up front. It's all based upon results. And if there are no results, there's no expense. And if there are results, we just share in some of the improvements.
Well, I think that's a good point. I know we've talked about this before, and Ron may have some observations to make, but my personal experience is that, many times people have been poorly served by outside consultants who, come in and take an awful lot of cash and end up not providing much information that's of value to the business directly. So as a consequence, we're fighting upstream on a lot of this. And while we say and probably can do what we say we do, they have no way of knowing that. And I think unless we get referred in by somebody who said, hey, I've used these people, I think it's a good thing. I think it's really difficult to move ahead. What's been your experience, Ron, in terms of that?
Well, it's similar, and most of the time, unless somebody really knows you and knows your work, or maybe knows companies that you've really worked with for a long time, it's pretty difficult for them to sense what you can actually do for them. And of course, the part of the reason is that they don't know what they don't know. And the kinds of things that we do take a while to learn typically. They could take years actually to learn, and we'll be talking about some of those issues, but there are a couple of other issues too. I mean, success is also dependent upon not only listening to what we may have to say, but they have to do it. And many entrepreneurs take on outside consultants, hoping that they'll just be magic. And there's not really a lot of magic to this. It's just a lot of really hard work, and that includes hard work for us, and of course hard work for them. But and as I've said, I mean, my consulting practice is 33 years old now. And I've said many times over the years to clients, I mean, you have to actually do this stuff. We can help in a lot of ways, but you have to learn how to be a leader, and you've got to learn how to motivate your own people. And we'll help you along the way if we can. But in those few times I've had people say, "Well, can you guarantee results?" And the answer is, not unless you do every single thing that I say.
Right.
And I'm going to make recommendations from time to time that might be a little bit difficult for you to actually come to a decision on, and that's your business. So that's what you get to do, is you get to make those decisions. But the truth of the matter is that over those 33 years, we've created several multimillionaires, and that has been, as I go back and take a look at the dozens and dozens and dozens of clients that I've worked with over that period of time. In each case, those folks have been completely committed. They are more action oriented, and they, when they say they're going to do something, they do something. They keep meetings. They learn to be structured, even though they may not have a natural affinity to be structured, but they realize that they have to be making, some changes in order to grow. And so they tend to follow through with those results. So for the most part, the ones that have done really well have been the ones that have sort of doubled down on commitments and actually did it, and did it with gusto. For every one of those, there are 5 others who just can't quite figure out how to get it done. And most of the time that's because they just haven't quite figured out how to listen, how to learn, and many times their ego is in the way. So, I'm not sure that everybody is right for having people come in to help them do their business, and they have to want to be successful and make money. If they are in business for some other reason, we need to identify that and maybe not even do the work for them. So, I mean, part of it is working for people that really have the capacity. We've said this many times on our videos, but the failure rate is just so enormous. And the reason the failure rate is enormous is because of who's running the businesses. So let's face it.
If I could, I'd like to kind of set
Ed, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing you at all.
Ray is going to lead on the framework that we used. Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, you're just not coming through. Sorry.
Yeah, so let me kind of explain why having kind of framed this as Ron has, it ultimately is up to the leader to be able to drive the organization forward. And why we like the Baldrige framework, first of all, it's been used for a long time. It's mature, and more importantly, it really breaks up the things that have to be done in meaningful components that you can actually look at and identify either gaps, strengths, and figure out ways to improve them. So as you look from left to right on the organizational matrix here, you see leadership, customers, and strategy on the left side. And then the right side, you see workplace, operations, and results. And between them, it's a matter of integrating them so that this information can be used and you have measurement, analysis, and knowledge working together to be able to move it forward. And as Ron said, when a leader understands the value of this, it really works effectively, particularly if they're adopting and using core values and concepts that underlie all the business. So that's one of the reasons we use this. And kind of to piggyback on what Ron said, my personal experience is when you find a CEO who's hungry and coachable, you can make this thing happen because it's not up to him. He realizes that he's just carrying the load. He does have to make the final decisions, but he's open to listen to those things that may in fact help him move forward. And he's not afraid of inviting outsiders in because he realizes that internally he can only afford so much, and to get outsiders in helps him get better perspective and get some understanding he otherwise wouldn't have. So having said that, I want to move to the next slide. Pardon me. So basically what I wanted you to see here is that on the inside are the values that drive the Baldrige framework. And I think they're really important. Then outside of that, where you see the dark gray, it's the 7 areas: the leadership, operations, workforce, customers, measurement, analysis, strategy, etc. And all that leads to the outside, which are, this is your art, results. You know, what did you achieve? Did you get leadership? Did you get product results? Did you get workforce results, etc.? So it's all integrated. So it really helps move this forward in a way that my experience has been, it helps people really break down the business in a meaningful way so that you can attack the areas that need to be fixed to really get the results that all businesses intend to have, but so few, as Ron said. And all starting business, 80% are gone after 5 years. And so having had these, this coachability and this ability to be able to follow a structured system will enable you to grow and move the business to the next level. So these are the Baldrige core values. And I'm going to talk about them very briefly here, but I would like some input from Ron and Ed on this. You know, one is a systems perspective. And Ron mentioned this, and Ed has too. The fact of the matter is, if you don't have systems in place that are integrated in some meaningful way, as we pointed out here in the preceding slides, you know, you can't really get things done because basically nothing's connected. Has that been your experience?
You know, yeah, I would say that systems are really key, and it's interesting that a lot of entrepreneurs don't like systems, and you know, I don't think we want to, you know, backtrack over a lot of things that we've said before, but it would be important maybe to bring up the mentality of the kinds of people who start businesses, and they typically tend to be people who are very much open to change, and they have new ideas, and they're creative and that sort of thing. And that's not the same kind of personality that creates a system.
Right.
And so, you know, many times there's a resistance to systems. There are really talented entrepreneurs who are system averse. They do not want the system. I've actually had business owners say, no, I need to keep a little chaos going around here because that's when people grow. You know, well, they're talking about themselves. They're not talking about everybody else. Right. That's not how typically how people operate within a business, because in order to get the business done and to focus on the customer and the excellence and so forth, you have to pay attention to details. You have to get it done.
Right.
Systems are the way that you get things done. So right off the bat, people need to come to the realization that if they're a certain size and they've got a certain number of people, they're going to systemize what they do to ensure that quality is delivered consistently, because the average owner might do that, but the average owner is not very good at getting everybody else to do it necessarily once they get beyond their own touch points. And you can't touch 300 people. You can't even touch 20 people. You might touch 5 people, but you get over 4 or 5 employees, you're going to lose track if you don't embrace the idea of systemizing things.
Yeah, no, Absolutely true. The other thing we're going to talk about, I'm not going to dwell on it much, but visionary leadership. And I think what it goes to, and both Ron and Ed have alluded to it, you know, when a person starts a business, it's usually because he's got some kind of a capacity to see a niche that is different or accessible to him or in his team, and he'll push forward on moving in that. If the person also has these other characteristics, that's when you see the kind of success that differentiates good businesses from the average or mediocre. And it's important to realize that here in California, you know, 98% of the businesses make less than 500,000 a year. Some of them substantially less than that. You know, so, you know, to move into that next level, it takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of coachability. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on customer focused excellence because that's Ron's area of expertise. And we've been focusing on that a lot. And I think it's critically important that at least we give it a brief overview. Ron, do you want to add anything here?
No, I think you're right, and we have focused a lot on that. I'll just say that the excellence is an important part, and when you value, as Ed's specialty, value in businesses, part of valuing a business has to do with delivering excellence, you know, perceived quality and value, you know, to customers. It's really hard to do that without a certain vision and certainly those systems and valuing your people and many of the other things that are going to follow here. Yeah.
And when it comes to valuing people, I think one of the things that we've tried to help people address is that, you know, you have to have a system in place to go back to the item number one, Ron, that we just talked about, of how you bring in people. You know, how many times have we seen it's so easy to hire people, but it's so hard to fire them? And, you know, once you have somebody in and he's not a good fit for the organization, you know, it erodes everybody's confidence in the leader. And more importantly, it does damage to the business itself. So valuing people starts with understanding who's supposed to be on the bus and are they in the right seat? Are they the right characteristics, talents, etc.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And a couple of things have come to mind over the last couple of weeks. In the semi-retirement, I'm still involved with two large accounts that I've had for a long time. But then also, as I'm thinking back over the companies that even were successful, the ones who are multimillionaires today, it's really interesting how valuing people can mean a couple of different things. And in all cases, I think that good owners do value their people. They appreciate them for who they are and what they do and that kind of thing. But where hiring is concerned, these particular two and many other companies over the years still haven't figured this out. The way that people are hired is really pathetic. And it's like throw enough mud on the wall, some of it will stick. The problem is, in terms of good people, we haven't got enough mud to throw on the wall anymore. We have to pick them and they have to be right.
Right.
And so when you consider, and every owner says, oh, I value my people. Well, then why don't you spend any time and effort to value your hires? Because they don't do a good hiring job. And I would say that's almost universal.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of money, be successful, and still not understand the right way to hire people. You might treat your people well once they've proven that they can get the job done and they stay, etc. But I'll tell you what, the hiring systems that are used today are, and especially given what we know today about personality and job fit, they're still very, very poor. And there's a lot of room for doing a better job for most big businesses, much better. Little businesses, they do not get it at all.
I agree. And I think, you know, that kind of ties in with organizational learning. And part of what we've been developing here is that when you have a systems perspective and visionary leadership and good customer excellence, and you value people, part of that is the organizational learning model, you know, which says, okay, how do we integrate all this in such a way that it's not the CEO who's doing it? He simply makes the final decision after getting input from everybody who's committed to the business. and feels valued and wants to make a contribution. And then the next element that I think is important, focus on success and innovation. Well, the question is, what does success mean? And I think as we've learned from, working inside of businesses and talking here, success is different to every organization. They have to define what that means to them. But ultimately, as you said, Ron, it has to do with making money. If they're not making money, we're no longer in a business, we're in a hobby.
That's right. Before we started up, Ed and I were chatting a little bit, and I kind of reminded him of a conversation we had, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, about the Koch brothers. Now they're quite there are different attitudes about who they are and how they've been involved in politics and that kind of thing, but just strictly from a business perspective, one of the things that sets them apart. Now, this is the second largest independently owned company in the entire world. So, and this company started during the lifetime of the brothers. They're still, I think, both of them, at least two of them, are still involved. And they inherited $1 million or something like that back in the 60s. So okay, they got started with some money, but they waste $1 million. Well, I shouldn't say they waste anything, but $1 million today is probably about 3 seconds of revenue, because that's a multi-billion-dollar company. Right. The point here is they have had for many years a system of valuing each of their businesses and each of their, say, product lines within a business, using a valuation that boils down to dollars. And their attitude is, we don't care about, we want you as managers to build value. In other words, we want you to put equity back in the business so that the overall value of the business is higher. Concentrate on asset accumulation and putting away stores in the warehouse. Don't worry so much just about revenue or just about profit, but look at the issue of keeping it. But when somebody comes along and looks at their business and says, we think that it's worth more than you think, they just sell it to them. It's like, okay, we're so tuned in to how we go through the calculations, and valuation is a big, huge subject, and we've done 8 or 9 shows on the drivers of business value, which you can look at on our YouTube channel. But basically, they just realize value is created when you have the long-term ability to accumulate assets. That's how you do that. So, it's sort of like you've got to change a little bit. A business owner tends to say, well, I've got really good customers, or I make a really good product. And it's wonderful to have pride in what you do. And most small businesses are that way. And I don't think the Koch brothers are any different. I think they have pride in all of the products that they develop, and they are innovative, and they are leaders, and they are growing. And that's because they have a way to value, and they value their people, and their people learn how to do this organizational learning so that they can focus on success and innovation measured through this valuation. That's how I'm trying to tie all this back together, is that here is an example of the most successful independent business, or the second so, in the world. That's how they do it. Now ask yourselves, those of you who are watching, how do you do it? Yeah, you don't do it that way, I'm almost positive.
Right, and I think that ties in so nicely with management by fact. And so, to summarize your story about the Koch brothers, Ron, the fact of the matter is, once they know what the value of the business is, and somebody tells them we'll pay more, they say, great,
yeah,
our job, you can have it.
Yeah, like they know something we don't know.
Right.
Or they think there's more value than we think, and that's fine. Just go ahead and sell it to them, because we're going to take that money, and we've got another 10 companies that we can put towards areas that need capital. So
Yeah.
we'll be happy to do that, because the whole point is we want to utilize the capital, utilize assets in order to be able to employ more people, make more things, and increase the standard of living of everybody all along that whole path.
Yeah, and then, tying in, obviously they have, identified the facts that are related to the value of the business. What
Yes.
this model says is that you not only have to know those facts, but you need to know the workforce facts, the results, all the other things that go in those 7 components. So it's important. This is a little different. One of the things that the Baldrige looks at is societal contributions. What are you doing for your community? And, that varies with each business, but, most of the companies that we've worked with have some legs inside the community, whether it's in the Rotary, in some small businesses, or it's some other place where they feel like they can make a contribution that helps the community as well as helps their business grow, etc. The next item here is the ethics and transparency. The companies that, I've seen that are most effective, the people inside will tell you that they feel that their leaders are honest and ethical and transparent about what they need and what they want. And one of the questions that comes up in the Baldrige self-assessment is, do you get the information you need, and are people willing to share financials? Our experience has been, and I think we all share this, is that the more transparent you are with people, the more effective they are in being able to make a decision to help you. And they don't care if you're making money. I mean, the bottom line is that every organization I've worked with, the front line realizes, hey, if my boss is making a lot of money, that's great for me, because it makes me make sure that my job is secure. And so I think the more transparency we have and high ethics, people will do what has to be done to move the organization to the next level.
I have found that those companies that have done the best are the ones who also have the deepest ethics, even to the point of religion. They're not afraid to be honest with everybody. I think managing by fact is an issue. You want to look at reality and what's real. When you don't look at what's real and you try and make decisions based on emotion, all kinds of mistakes are made. And we happen to be in a society right now where an awful lot of people are advocating that meritocracy is not the way decisions should be made. But I think all of these issues here in the Baldrige framework would indicate the opposite of that. It's like, no, ethics and transparency are important, and managing based on reality is also important.
Yes, exactly. And so this kind of draws us to the last one, delivering value and results. And the importance of that, of course, is that, as you were saying with the Koch brothers, value is, what is the company worth? What kind of residuals is it throwing off in terms of cash, et cetera? And can you measure those results in some meaningful way? And this is one of the reasons I think the Baldrige is really helpful. It's not at all divorced from the fact that businesses need assets that they can measure in order to be able to produce results. And if you don't have some connection between that, you have businesses that don't quite get to where they could be because they don't have the background or the information to move them forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of a brief overview of why we believe that the Baldrige can be really helpful. I wanted to at least touch base and give you some sense as to what's going on. We have, obviously, if you would like to get more information and you want to see the rest of the 40 episodes we now have on our YouTube channel, you just have to click here. And again, if you want to reach any one of us, our numbers and our phone numbers and our emails are there. And we encourage you to reach out to us if there's a topic that may be of interest to you that we haven't explored. We'd love to be able to hear what that might be and see if we can give you some insights.
There's also a comment section below in that people can ask a question. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. It's been another good episode. Ron, thank you for your insights. Ed, sorry we couldn't see you personally, but we want to wish you a great weekend down there in the desert.